In the biggest piece of seemingly intentional counter-programming since the previous week in wrestling, actually, Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves are previewing new game versions literally on the same day with their special programs talking about the new patches. Most people would probably be taking this time to sort of compare the two, to have an overview of which one's better, and there will be some qualitative comparisons happening for sure, but I want to compare them in ways other than assigning an arbitrary winner to several categories, because competing with each other should also mean that the differences between the two should also have the pros and cons on both sides worth exploring. And don't worry, I'll get into other reasons I think these patches aren't necessarily a one-to-one comparison quality-wise with each other as we go along. So one thing that each of these patches has in common is that each of the games is getting one new character. Inefa, the robot maid from Nodcry for Genshin, and the long-awaited Fraxidus Overseer Frolova from Wuwa. Inefa, notably, kind of changes part of the way the game works by introducing an alternate form of electrocharge reactions, with implications that these more powerful alternate reactions are something we're going to see as a recurring theme for Nodcry characters. I'll reserve my thoughts on what I think about this for when we actually do see more of this mechanic, but considering my thoughts about Night Soul's execution in Natlin, I do have concerns. Frolova, on the other hand, has really sick gameplay that seems to be in the concept of being a conductor to give unique mechanics, which is something that Wuwa happens to do really well, make the characters not just feel in lore like their concept, but also have gameplay that ties into the idea. Admittedly, we spent a lot of time going over Inefa's lore over on the Genshin side, and a lot less diving into lore tidbits here because, for one, they're letting more of the lore be explained in the new story quest coming out, and for two, Frolova isn't really being dropped in out of nowhere here either. Both the games also have a total of 3 character reruns to go alongside the new characters, with Genshin having characters that seem to have more support for one another, Mualani and Inefa, on separate banners, while a lot of what's coming in Wuwa overall is Havoc. So Frolova, her supports, and my main man Brant, which obviously means I automatically like Wuwa's banners more. That being said, I think some people could complain about the abundance of characters that all kind of belong on the same team rerunning back to back like this, while Genshin seems to actually be running 2 shielders for separate strategies at once, and then 2 main DPS characters for separate strategies at once. So, even when it's reruns, Genshin clearly doesn't want to anger the players in the same way they did before, while with Wuwa, it seems that people are fine with having to pick a piece of their team and wait for the next time the rest come around, since reruns do seem to be frequent enough. Both games are also giving us a new explorable areas. Both of them have a water theme. I mean, sort of. Wuwa is getting an underwater factory, a fabricatorium of the deep. There's no way I messed that up during recording this. No way at all. While Genshin is getting a summer vacation theme park in Natlin that's actually going to be permanent for once in their fucking lives. That's something interesting about all this, is that Genshin is doing something they haven't really done since Inazuma, and actually made most of the new actual content permanent with just some temporary rewards and minigames to go along with it, which is a welcome change that does help with story progression. We're also getting the first part of the Mare Javari from Genshin, so it's not like this update is all sunshine and rainbows like the end of main version summer updates usually are in Genshin. That being said, in talking about the new areas, I think it is worth noting how it feels as though we're in 2 separate points of the story cycle with this game. Wuwa doesn't feel like it's ready to leave Renacida, whereas we're literally taking steps out of Natlin right now with this update for Genshin, and know that Nodcry is literally the next update. Whereas Wuwa is giving us a mini-story that is about Augusta that is stated to directly tie into future story content, kind of giving away what we're likely getting next. So the tone of these two being super different isn't really very surprising, although Genshin is doing a good job with this one of intersecting multiple different tones in what they're going for. Let it be known though, Wuwa is very much advertising itself as all edge, and I don't say that as a bad thing, because there's lightheartedness under the surface, but, well, they know what the target audience is more interested in from them. And that's why they don't make male characters. There are a few extra things that both games are doing as well, beyond just, well, normal things that each of them would do in every patch, and I want to talk about the ones for each game that are the most relevant to comparing these two. I guess most relevant to contrasting the two. Most of this falls under optimization, especially once we start talking about WoWa, but each one has something that, quite frankly, would be beneficial if their competition was doing it as well. I'll start with Genshin, because to some, this probably wouldn't be a big deal. As is normal with the summer event for Genshin, we're also getting a couple of new character skins. One for Yellen, who's actually getting a separate event in Fontaine that introduces the skin in question, and admittedly, the fact that we're getting multiple different storylines progressing in the patch is dope as hell. But we're also getting a new Bennett Natlin skin. They gave Bennett jeans. I am instantly sold. Except I'm not gonna need to buy it because it's an event reward. Look, this is normal for Genshin to do. Every time they add skins, they have a paid skin for a 5-star character and a skin for a 4-star character that's cheaper, unless of course it's the Diluc skin, but that's a whole nother other. Or you can just get it from the big event of the season. Giving out skins for free at all is something that Wuthering Waves just plain doesn't do. When they brought out summer skins, it was 2 paid skins for 5-star characters, and the anniversary rewards included a coupon to make them a little cheaper. For a cosmetic, when you're already selling the characters in and of themselves, that's kinda... I don't know. Granted, Wuthering Waves barely has 4-star characters and certainly doesn't release anything for them, but that's a topic for another video. The point being that, well, there are things like skins that Genshin is just doing better, even if they are relatively minor in comparison to all of the optimizations WoW is doing. Like, holy shit! Genshin is introducing small optimizations, at least one of which caused an uproar when it kinda sorta sounded like it was gonna be the skip button for dialogue that WoW had from the beginning, but I digress. See, there's a reason that devs listened is such a meme when it comes to Wuthering Waves, other than them literally infesting my walls to figure out how much extra rewards they should compensate for the anniversary being shit with. One of the biggest pieces of feedback in regards to the ecosystem has been how kind of lame it is to need to change screens in order to find out the substats you get for your echoes after you level them, where you basically have to hit each level threshold twice, more or less. People have complained about the tuning system for a while, and you know what they did? Some people wanted it removed, but that's not what WoW did. It's understandable that they wouldn't. But what they did was they added a toggle to the echo leveling that let you tune them automatically. And if you don't want to do it automatically for some reason, then that's fine. You don't have to. That's probably the biggest one. They also introduced auto lock and auto discard, which is good because I often set rules for when I want to discard and I don't get a chance to do that when I get the echo in the open world. And his feedback I specifically brought up in detail on one of their more recent surveys. So once again, they listen to my complaints in particular. Now make more male characters. Some of these are fixes that Genshin already has for similar annoyances in their game, but Genshin's annoyances are far more egregious and just straight up aren't being addressed. Hey, did you know that as of now, Genshin is the only game between itself, WoWa, Honkai Star Rail, and Zenless Zone Zero to not have a dialogue skip button? You know it's the only game to give 1 resin per 8 minutes among those as well? The only game to not have overflow stamina storage? These are not limitations of the Unity engine. I'm sorry, these are just quality of life improvements that would allow Genshin to be as good as these other games instead of being worse, at least by these metrics. And keep in mind that not all of this is competition. It's the same company for a lot of this list. Okay, the last part turned into a bit of a rant on Genshin's problem, but my point overall is that both games have things worth looking forward to. The new areas look fun for very different reasons. I feel a lot more comfortable with the writing going on in Genshin as of late than what was happening during most of the 5.x storyline, and the new characters draw a lot of my interest, even if one of them has to compete for my wishes with actually empowering a lacking element on my account, but
At the same time, I have Escoffier, so it's fine.
I do think Wuwa has the overall more powerful patch. If you wanted me to make a specific rating review on which one is overtly better, Frolova's gameplay is very interesting and plays into the flavors super well, and having a random Brant rerun is probably gonna win the day for me. That being said, Ineffa is probably going to be a little bit more exciting when we see more of this lunar reaction mechanic, and like I said, I'll reserve more judgment on the concept when we know more about it. But what do you think? Are you looking forward to Bennett and Jeans? Are you gooning for Cantarella like your name's John Q. Tectone? Leave your support for Brant Supremacy in the comments, and be sure to leave a like on your way out. But until next time, this is the effing Boonslayer, signing out.